I'd like to introduce, as Dr. Harder received our award that's so significant, I'd love to give you a chance right now to hear from Dr. Natalie Harder from South Louisiana Community College.
Thank you, Janet. As I get older, I am paying more attention to my health. And one of the things that I came to realize in the last few months is I probably need to drink more water. I see a lot of you out there with your water bottles. There's a lot of science out there about hydrating. And quite frankly, I really don't. I don't usually have anything to drink with my meals. It's just not something that I have paid attention to. But, you know, all of the things that happen when you drink more water sounded good to me. You have more energy, you know, you have glowing skin, you can teleport, or whatever it is that science has decided that is good for water drinking. So recently, before bed one night, I downloaded an app that is supposed to give you an alarm during the day, I see people nodding their head, to tell you when you should stop and drink water and how much water you should drink. So I get the app, I put my information in, age, gender, height, weight, the hours of the day I want to drink the water, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., and I say, tell me every hour, give me a notification to stop and drink how much water. I go to bed, I'm all psyched, I'm like, gonna get this water thing down. In the morning, my traditional alarm goes off, and then a few minutes later, ding, my water alarm goes off. I look at the amount, I'm like, that seems like a lot of water, but 6 hours, I'm 6 hours into the day, and I don't normally pay attention to hydrating, so okay, I guess that's what I should drink. 7 o'clock rolls around, ding, wow, that still seems like a lot of water, but I got this, man, I'm gonna drink this water. 8 o'clock rolls around, I feel extremely full, I hear the ding, and I'm like, you know what, I gotta change something. So I'm like, what if I make it so it rings every half hour, then I'll have half the amount of water and it'll seem like I can do it more. So I change the setting, I'm ready to go. 9 o'clock comes around, ding, okay. 9:30, I'm just getting out of the bathroom from the 9 o'clock drink I had. And I'm like, gosh, how do people drink all this water? So I go back into the app and I say, okay, instead of 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., I'm going to make it 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And instead of every 30 minutes, why doesn't it notify me every 20 minutes? Then now I've broken up the hour's worth of water into 3 different segments. It'll be much more manageable. You know, the next hour, it's ding. Seriously, I'm out of the bathroom, ding, out of the bathroom, ding. I try one more hour. I'm like, how come I can't do this? I gotta be. So I go back in. I change my time from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Okay. By noon, I quit. I said, there is no way I can drink this much water. And there's no way that everybody can't be drinking all the water that they need. And it was really frustrating. I wasn't trying to build an immunity to like rattlesnake venom. I just wanted to drink more water. So that night, you know, I'm still disappointed in myself. It seemed so infantile. I couldn't manage this application. I couldn't change the amount of water I was drinking. And I said, well, maybe I'm not understanding the basic assumptions or the information about how this is all supposed to work. So I went back into the app and I said, oh, okay, I got my age right, got my gender, height, weight. I had put my weight in as kilograms. I was trying to drink enough water for someone who weighs 229 pounds. But if you notice in my journey to drink more water, I never stopped to question my assumptions or the basic information. I just said every hour, I am going to get back at this. And I think, how many people in this room are high performers? 3? No, come on, right? You're either a high performer in this room, or as Janet talked about, you've got someone that believes they can move you from a solid to a high performer. And literally, guys, that is what we do all the time. Our basic assumption is that we wake up we get at it, and we do that again, no matter what the situation coming at us, no matter how much we're questioning, is this right? We grind on it day after day after day. But I don't think this should be our basic assumption as high performers, because you're going to burn out. Our basic assumption as high performers and as leaders is really this, right? When you think about your journey into your leadership position, and I so agree with Janet how it's a choice, and you reflect back on the things that you are trying to accomplish, I want to share with you for the rest of my time sort of the journey, the story that I have about how I came to understand that first mantra is not right, and the second mantra is. I had a lot of failures before we saw some real success because of this belief. And for my own ego, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the failure portion of my journey, but I do think it's important that you understand the context of kind of how I got here. So for those of you that don't know, back in 2012, I became the Chancellor of South Louisiana Community College, and 4 months later, we merged with another college. Anybody here involved in a merger? Okay. Ever been involved in a merger? Read about mergers. They are so easy. Everybody wants to merge, don't they? Your systems talk together, your policies are the same, there's always plenty of money for whatever it is that needs to be fixed. People with the same job title are so excited to learn about whether or not they'll have that title in the future. It's just heavenly. But in our case, it was a little different. We had two institutions that had declining financials, declining enrollment, extremely poor student outcomes, very bad morale on both sides of the house. The only thing that was a positive was that after the merger, those two sets of employees shared the unhappiness about merging together. So we really just had overall a big new college that had all of the same issues that those colleges brought together. And so what I did was I pulled together the leadership teams of both institutions to try to address the issues I talked about: enrollment, financials, student outcomes, the process pieces. And there were about 21, 22 people in that group. And we did get some things done, particularly, trying to get the processes done, trying to figure out how the phone systems were going to work. And sort of after a few months, I started to feel like, but where's our urgency? Where is the desire to really change the stuff that's problematic and has been problematic for a long time? It just seemed like that group couldn't focus on the stuff, I guess, that from my position really was systematically going to hurt us in the long run. And so I started just basically telling everyone what to do. I woke up, kicked ass in my own way, and the next day I'd repeat. And when I tell you, when I think back on it, man, I had this huge conference table. I had pads of paper. They were like 3 weeks, 6 months. I'd sit down every day and I'd cross out what we got done. I was in on Saturdays, in on Sundays, which is not, maybe not outrageous given I was fairly new, the merger was new. But after like 9, 10 months of this, and I'm looking around and I'm going, I feel like I'm kind of doing this by myself. What is it that's going on? And I thought, well, maybe I'm not explaining enough. Maybe I'm not telling people enough. I'm showing people my notebooks. But really about a year into that, I had a situation that helped me understand some things needed to be different. I'm sorry, not a year in, a couple years in, of just putting out all this energy and not feeling like the organization was responding. Both institutions had a history of when an individual, a faculty member, wasn't very successful with our, excuse me, I need water, with our traditional students, we would move those faculty members to teach remedial students. I don't have enough time, and there's not enough tequila in this hotel to tell you all the reasons why that is so wrong. But if you don't see it, imagine taking someone who can't help prepared students be successful and moving them into an environment of unprepared people. You are literally signing their withdrawal slip. Like to me, that I'm like, why are you sacrificing our students on behalf of your colleagues? So I was very clear, and I said it more than once, that this is not to happen again. And a dean did it again. So I called that dean in, we had a conversation, and she resigned, probably after she got her hearing back. And you know, over the next couple of days, I kept, on this side of myself, I kept beating myself up. What didn't she understand? I was very clear in my instructions. Why didn't she listen to me? Why wasn't, you know, what I wanted done being respected? How could we have kept doing this? And literally at the same time, like visualize a sunrise. Like I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, now I have the opportunity to replace that person with someone who shares our values. Sun part of it was like keep looking into the sun, because the painful bright light was, I had that control the whole time. Why don't we dig deep and find out where the problems are, who the problem people are? When we merged, we defaulted back. I was telling you why I was kind of getting frustrated we didn't have traction. Nobody wanted to tell me where the problem people were. They were reinforcing their silos. They were giving excuses about processes, but they didn't want to be honest about where the problem people were. Why is it that we have so much of an issue dealing with low-performing employees? Somebody tell me one. We're tender-hearted. It is so hard. You are so right. We hate to admit defeat. That's right. We don't want to be the bad guy. Exactly. It's hard, right? Maybe you've known that person a long time. Maybe they've been there a long time. In the beginning, I didn't really know who to trust. There was a lot of institutional knowledge. Maybe if I let that person go, something major was going to happen and I would lose my job because I didn't know this was supposed to be done. My favorite reason, though, that we don't let people go is because we think they're going to get better. We think they're going to change. If I model that behavior and I tell them what I want them to do, they are going to change. How many of you are parents? Okay. Do you believe that if you tell your child the proper dishwashing techniques and demonstrate dishwashing for them every day, that one day they are going to put down their cell phone and a miracle will occur and they are going to be like, I am going to start washing these dishes? There's a consequence for your leadership role and them not responding to what your expectations are, particularly if they have siblings or colleagues that are watching that interaction, because if you don't deal with it, they're not going to deal with it. And then the people that are watching them, they're just going to be like, heck, I don't have to do the dishes either. You can leave this morning and say, didn't Natalie tell us a nice story? And I bet you there's probably some truth in that. The good news is not only can I tell it to you, but I can prove it to you. First of all, this is a quote that I keep on my desk, and I want us to say it together if you'll indulge me. Ready? The culture of any organization is shaped by the worst behavior the leader is willing to tolerate. Now I want us to say it again, and I want you to say it related to your own position. I want you to say, instead of organization, if it's organization, I want you to say division, department, program, whatever it is that you manage, Are you ready? The culture of any division, department, program, or is shaped by the worst behavior the leader is willing to tolerate. You create the culture in your environment. We recently had an incident where an employee posted something inappropriate on social media. We called our legal counsel, and he said, you know, they didn't break any laws, they didn't violate any policies. You really can't let that person go for that violation. And you know what? He was totally right. But that person violated our values, and they're not with us anymore. How many of you are familiar with the employee engagement surveys that Studer does? Any of you? All right. So if you're not familiar, Studer can help you by doing an employee engagement survey that really assesses in about 9 areas how your employees feel about work. And at the end, the summary questions are really about, is this a good place to work? So I'm going to show you some of our SLCC's results over the last 4 years, and I'm just going to ask you to bear with me because I'm going to work from one side so the rest of it makes sense. But this is the evidence of what I just talked about for the last 20 minutes. So you can see the SLCC 2015-16 numbers, right? We do our first employee engagement survey. Our overall mean is 3.51. Guys, this first column demonstrates 3 years of Natalie Harder waking up, kicking ass, and repeating. You know what it got me in the institution? At that time, the lowest score Studer's ever seen on an employee engagement survey. Right? But there it is in black and white. For all of my hard work, what had I done? I didn't help the institution at all. Where is the lowest score in the representation of my 3 years of awesome work? My senior leadership team. I was not focusing on building an awesome team. With Studer, as many of you know, after you get your survey results, you have to roll them out to your department, to your division, to your institution. And I stood up in front of the entire college and I said, I hear you. And I read the 30 pages of 6-point font complaints that you had about it, single space. Thank you very much, Julie Kunzelman. and I said, I promise you we're going to be different. I promise you that I'm going to focus on senior leadership, and that team is going to focus on their teams. And we really did for the next year. That was our wake up and grind. I focused on my team, and we all focused on the institution. To the point where when we had our second year survey results, our overall score was a 4.05. Okay. But in Studer's world, a 0.1 movement is high. A 0.2 movement is very high. We moved 0.54, like outlier of an outlier of outlier. That told me that even if we didn't get everything done or what we did do wasn't perfect, working on the team aspect of SLCC is what made the difference. And look at the score, if you can see it, of senior leadership. That had the highest movement of almost a whole point in 1 year. Doesn't take 20 years to make change. The third year, our overall score, 0.12, high movement. Fourth year, 0.12 movement up to 4.29, another high movement. And so we knew that internally we were changing our culture, that our transformation was going on. But how do you know whether or not you're just kind of moving along as the tides lift all boats? Well, Studer has an answer for that too. They let you know how you're doing in comparison to the other organizations within your sector. So the year that you do your survey, they also tell you the low and the high of all the surveys they've done, in our case, for higher education. So the next two columns, the range, do that for our last survey, the 18-19 year. So in other words, in our fourth year, we took a look at the highest or the lowest and highest scores ever recorded in the surveys for higher ed with Studer. I want to point out to you again that our first year, the first year where I did not focus on my team, remains the lowest score Studer's ever seen in an overall employee engagement survey. But when you take a look at our progression, so you can see that in the 16-17 year, so that's the second year we did the survey, because the first year is our baseline, that gold star means that at that time, we either were at or above the highest score Studer ever had in higher education through the employee engagement survey. And in our second year, we were gold stars in 4 categories. Man, we were really doing something good. The third year, we had 6 out of 9. And in the last year, this last year, we were either tied or were the highest score in every single area. Do you know what those 3 years were? 3 years of waking up, building a kick-ass team, and repeating. And then my team waking up, building a kick-ass team, and repeating. So I want to ask the SLCC kick-ass team if they'd all stand. I know they're around the room, all of you. There's like 20 of them here, right? Thank you. And do you know why they deserve a round of applause? Quite frankly, not because we've got a bunch of gold stars, but because of the chart over here. We are graduating more students. And not just any students, the most disadvantaged students in our community. You want to be successful in education as a single parent, you come to us. You're incarcerated and you're hoping to be trained, we are going to do that. You're an individual that doesn't have a high school equivalency, we're going to help you change that and then move you into a career. All of those things that are important within our institution is because that team, seriously, I just get to stand up here and talk about the good stuff, is what has made the difference. You can do it, but you can't do it alone. If you wake up and focus on your team every single day, I promise you that the transformation, the culture within your program, department, or division, it can change. So, if you don't take anything else from my discussion, I want you to focus on that, and I promise you, you can really be successful on behalf of your students. Have a good day.